Schnitzel's usually made by using veal. However, there are variations, and this is one of them that I learned while skiing in Switzerland at St. Moritz. It's called Schweinsschnitzel. Let's get cooking with style. If you're going to be pounding these out to get them to where we want them, do not use your wood cutting board. Use a plastic one. This takes a little bit of time, so I'm going to do this and you'll get it on the backside, but I'll show you the first step. You want to start on the edge, keep your fingers out of the way, and then you come down the middle, and then flip it over. See how I get my fingers out of the way? Flip it over. When you get around the bone, be very careful. I'll see you on the back side. All right, so there we go, and you might get a few holes in there, but that's no problem. We're gonna be breading these up. Let's head over to the stove top. I'll bread this one up and set these in the fryer. Pan is already hot with some oil in it. Let's go ahead and season up this last cutlet. Just a little bit of salt on both sides, and then pepper. And then we're gonna bread it up. And we're using the pepper mill on kind of a medium, not like super fine, but not coarse, because we don't want to overpower it. So there's no way around this. You're going to get messy. A little bit of flour on both sides. Shake off the excess. Okay, in it goes to the egg wash. Now this is an egg wash, not an egg batter. So it's got a little bit of water in it. So you can see how it's a little bit of runniness there. And now into our breadcrumbs. Give that a little shake around. Pat it just a little bit to make sure they stick. And my oil is on a medium heat. Be careful when you do this, it's gonna sizzle. Give it a little shake. About 3 to 4 minutes on this side. We'll flip it and one more time. All right, let's take a look underneath here. There we go, a nice golden brown. Now just be careful flipping it back over. Hot boiling oil. My bone-in Schweinsschnitzel has been cooking for about 8 to 10 minutes in this nice hot oil. I like to put it on a paper towel to soak up the excess grease. This is ready to serve up. You've heard me say this before, I don't like serving hot food on a cold plate, so I've gone ahead and warmed up my serving dish here. And we're just gonna take our little cutlets here, these Schweiner schnitzels that we've mixed up and made up and pounded out. A lot of work into this, but you know, it's really a delicious meal, but don't stop and not do a presentation. So we're gonna do a little presentation with some lemons around like this. I'm gonna take some parsley, and I'm not kidding you, this parsley really does add to the flavor because the heat of the cutlet here coming up through that parsley opens up the pores of the little diced up parsley and really adds a great flavor to it. So this is a dish that I found when I was in Switzerland, skiing on the backside of a mountain in St. Moritz. Some sculpin just came into Catalina Offshore Products, and I went down and picked some up. It is a delicious fish, but if you prefer some other type of white fish, this recipe works just fine for anything. Let's get cooking with style. You can bread the fish one of two ways. You can use plain panko breadcrumbs, but I like making Italian panko breadcrumbs. And I like making it myself, so I'm putting in all my own seasonings. Garlic, onion, salt, pepper, and Italian seasonings. And we're just gonna toss this in there lightly. And make sure you keep tossing it when you're breading because the seasoning will fall down in. Now when it comes to the fish, I've got some beautiful sculpin that I got from Catalina Offshore Seafood. And I gotta tell you, this is as good as it gets. It's super flavorful and it's reasonably priced. Make sure you lightly season your fish with a little bit of salt and of course a dusting of pepper. Don't overpower it with pepper. This fish is very mild and we're using mild fish. All right, I'm gonna start getting this ready to bread and I'll show you how we do that. All right, this is total assembly line. We've got our fish. We're gonna dredge it in the flour, like so. We've got an egg wash, not an egg batter, okay? And then we throw it in the breadcrumbs. Your fingers are gonna get covered in breadcrumbs. And there you go. All right, I'm gonna do the rest of them. We'll catch you on the backside. All right, last one breaded in the fryer it goes, along with some of its friends. The trick here to this fish is do not overcook it. We're talking about maybe 3-4 minutes aside, max. These are ready to be turned, and I gotta tell you, you don't wanna overcook these fillets. Nice golden brown. The second side will cook even quicker, maybe 2 minutes per side. All right, fish is ready to come out, and these are looking really good. Let's go put them on the plate and serve it up. All right, our fish is done. Let's put it together so we can have dinner or lunch in this case. What I'm gonna do though is make something a little bit different besides a tartar sauce. Remember that pesto that we made, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months ago? Well, we're gonna take one of those pieces of pesto that I told you to put in an ice tray, mix it with a little mayonnaise and a little bit of lemon juice, and we're gonna make a mock aioli. And this is really gonna set this off and make it totally different than anything else that you've normally had. It's that simple. A couple tablespoons of mayonnaise, the pesto, and there you go. All right, here's our plate. And I told you we're gonna do maybe lunch and or dinner. So we've got our lemon, a little parsley to make it look pretty, a nice little dollop of the mock aioli, and a couple pieces of fish like that. This sculpin is so good if you treat it just right. But we're gonna do something a little bit more than just that. We're gonna make a beautiful little sandwich. Now in Point Loma, they've got some restaurants that make this, and this is very similar to that. I've got some nice warm French bread right out of the oven, sliced nice and thin. Put that on top. I'm gonna take a nice fillet, put it over there like so. Sprinkle just a little bit more salt on that. Put that together. So there we go. We've got your sculpin, nice fried fish or a beautiful fish sandwich, all with a mock aioli. I love eggplant parmesan. If you want a great eggplant parmesan sandwich, go to Poma's in OB. Now, it's a little bit more difficult than what we usually do, but we've been doing this long enough that I think you can pull it off. Let's get cooking with style. Let's start off with a couple things. I'm cutting these in a little bit different fashion, the eggplant. I'm cutting them lengthwise. The reason for that is you can make each one of these a meal. Secondly, I'm gonna season both sides with a little kosher salt just to get that rolling here. And then I'm gonna flour these and let the flour kind of get a little moist on there so that when I do the egg wash and the breadcrumbs, it sticks just a little bit better. Sprinkle that over the top, lightly dusting the eggplant here. And we'll flip those over, do the same thing on each side. And then I'll show you how I make my Italian breadcrumbs. Now you can buy your breadcrumbs already made in the Italian form, but the reason I like to make them myself is because if I'm going to use my panko breadcrumbs and I don't want an Italian flavor, then I've got my plain panko breadcrumbs. My panko breadcrumbs, and then I use an Italian seasoning. This is a blend of different herbs and spices as opposed to just straight oregano. Salt and pepper. Really, that's how simple it is. And we're gonna give this a nice little toss. And this is gonna make the breading for our eggplant parmesan. And then I'll get that set up. Now I gotta get my station set up here. And I'm pretty sure most of you know how to make an egg wash, but in case you don't, it's really simple. It's just 2 eggs and about a 1/4 cup of water. And I've gone ahead and whipped that up. I'm gonna dip my eggplant in there, and I'm gonna do this over and over again. Use one hand that's wet and then one hand that's dry. So, because this wet hand is gonna get so messy, all right? I'm gonna put this guy in a medium-high oil. See that nice sizzle? All right, I'm gonna get those going. I'm gonna bread the rest of these up, and then we'll assemble this in just a minute. So these have been cooking about 4 or 5 minutes, and the reason I'm cooking them a little bit longer is you'll notice I'm making these cuts really thick. So each one of these is a nice meaty piece of eggplant, which will be enough for each serving. The last one's ready, and I like to put my eggplant right on the baking dish that I'm gonna use. So let's get these ready and pop them in the oven. I've got a nice little marinara. Now you can buy the jar ones, those are fine. We're making a little eggplant parmesan. Now if you've got your favorite family recipe, you can do that. And I'm putting a good healthy portion. And those two ends, I buttered them together, and that's if someone's a little extra hungry there. And I've got my mozzarella cheese all grated up here. Oven set at about 375, 400 degrees. Try to keep most of the cheese on the eggplant there. And then we're gonna pop these in the oven, and you gotta keep an eye on them because you don't want this to get out of hand. And then we're just gonna take a little Parmesan cheese, sprinkle it over the top, hence the term eggplant parmesan. And having my eggplant on the baking pan, I can just leave them on that. Almost got away, and in they go. All right, these are ready, nice and golden brown on the top. The cheese is looking fantastic. Everything is sizzling. Let's get this plated up. Now, I really want you to pay attention to this part right here. Don't forget to put down a little swath of marinara on the bottom, because you don't want this sliding around. Let's take this one. That one looks really good. Okay, put it in there like so. See, and then I add a little bit more juice to that. So now let's dress this up and make it even better. A little Parmesan cheese on top. You can do this if you'd like, you don't have to. I just particularly like crushed red peppers on the top and around on the plate. They spice things up just a little bit. And then, of course, a little of that Italian parsley. I grow this in my garden and it's absolutely fantastic. That's why I use it so much. Okay, so eggplant parmesan. It's a classic. It looks hard, it's not. This is casual elegance. How about an Asian twist on a Southern favorite? We're gonna make some corn fritters, but serve it with a sweet and sour spicy dipping sauce. Let's get cooking with style. What makes these corn fritters Asian is the sauce, the dipping sauce. Let's get that started, and it couldn't be any simpler. We're gonna use a little rice wine. This is how simple it is. We're gonna take a lot of sugar, and I mean a lot, like about 3/4 of a cup, and then some crushed red peppers and garlic. Now, you can put in as much crushed red peppers as you like, and that'll make it that much spicier. And we're gonna bring this to a boil. So this is what the sauce is gonna look like, this nice thick sauce here. We're gonna let that simmer for about 10 minutes on a boil. All right, move that off to the side, and I'm gonna make the batter. This is kind of complicated, but not too much. We're gonna be using a pancake batter. If you have your favorite homemade pancake batter, you can use that. We got a little cumin and coriander that's gonna go in there. Of course, a little cornmeal, and then we're going to put a splash of lemon juice in there, some cilantro and green onions, and then the corn. Now this is the part I want you to kind of watch, because this is really cool. If you've ever sliced corn off the cob, you have this, and you go, what the heck do I do with all that beautiful corn in there? This is called milking, and you're just gonna drag the corn cob on there, and you see all the little kernels that are coming out? And the juice, that's why they call it milking. All right, we take that and we're gonna mix this all together. I'll get this going and then we'll get it in the pan. I'll be right back with you. We're ready to go now with a nice hot skillet full of oil. We've got about 1/4 inch in there, and we're just gonna ladle this in just like we're making pancakes. So we'll go right around the circle here. Hopefully we'll have enough room to get one in the center. If not, don't overfill the pan, because you don't wanna cool the oil down to the point where the fritters aren't frying. So about 3 to 4 minutes per side, and we'll roll those over. We're in about 3 or 4 minutes. Let's give these a little toss. Be careful, this is a lot of oil in here and you don't want to splash it around. Look at those boys, oh man. So another like 2-3 minutes on this side, and we should have some beautiful corn fritters. The last 2 of these are done. Let's get them off on our little paper towel, and then we've got them ready to be plated up and served. I like to serve these on a big platter so everyone can get at the dipping sauce. And you know, I always do this. I kind of make a presentation, but you know, for me, eating food is also what I'm looking at. If it looks good, it's probably gonna taste pretty good too, because if someone's taken the time to put a nice arrangement of of the food, that means they're really proud of what they've done, and so they want to make sure that it looks really good. You see how I kind of tucked that underneath? And now we've got the greens of the scallions or green onions, and I'm going to put those over the top just like this because it's more of a presentation. You'll be eating these as well. And then I just want to show you how this dipping sauce looks now. Look at how nice and thick it is. It's cooled down a little bit, and it will be fantastic on these corn fritters. A little Asian twist to a southern recipe. Arroz con pollo, it's a classic Mexican dish. I really kind of learned how to cook it when I was at El Torito. I've kind of put a little spin on that, and I think you're going to like how easy it is, all in one pan. Let's get cooking with Styles. Starting out with some boneless chicken thighs, and we're going to season these generously with salt and pepper, not as generous with the pepper, and we'll do that on both sides. So we'll flip these guys over, and remember, keep one hand clean, one hand that's going to touch the chicken, because you don't want to contaminate your salt and pepper with the juices from that chicken. And I've already got my pan heated here with hot oil, and what we're going to do is we're going to take our chicken and we're going to dredge it into a little bit of flour, not heavily, just enough, and then we're going to fry it. And we're going to brown each side of this chicken, and then that will get us going. So we just got to wait for those to brown up. This can be messy. It takes about 5-6 minutes per side to get that nice golden brown. We're going to do another 4 or 5 minutes on the other side, and we'll get this all ready to put the lid on top. Chicken is done. Let's get it off the plate and finish assembling this arroz con pollo. Now we're going to leave the drippings in there because that's actually going to be used to fry our rice. I know you're like, what? Fry the rice? Yeah, we're going to fry the rice, and we're going to fry a little bit of onions and garlic. First goes in the rice. We'll swirl this around in here, and we'll cook this rice for about 2 or 3 minutes. Leave all those chunks of chicken in there. Next go in the raw onions, and after this, after about 2 minutes, we're going to put in some garlic. So mix that around with the rice, onions, another 2 minutes, you get your garlic. All right, let's spice this up a little bit. I've got some black pepper, salt, and oregano. That goes in. We're going to take some tomatoes. This is about 1 tomato diced. We'll take tomato paste, and to that we're going to add our chicken broth. Stir that around, bring it to a boil, and then add the chicken. The rice mixture is boiling right now, so let's turn it down to low, and then we're going to add our chicken. We take the chicken thighs, and we're just going to lay them on top. Make sure you get that juice in there. That is goodness you don't want to miss out on. We'll put our chicken in like so, and we're going to season this lightly with a little paprika to give it a little more color. Paprika over the top. Put a lid on it, and in 20 minutes, the goodness will be there. All right, we've had this on the stove for about 20 minutes. Oh, it turned out perfect. We'll do 1 plate. Another little thigh there. Oh, that rice looks so good too. Oh my goodness, look at the steam coming out. You know that's gonna be tasty. And it's a Mexican dish, so we're gonna dress it up a little bit. We're gonna take a little bit of the scallions. These are the green onions, and we're cutting them on an angle because it looks better, and then a little cilantro over the top of that. And that is my version of arroz con pollo. I'll tell you, that is casual elegance if I've ever seen it. I can't believe how popular buffalo chicken wings are. I love them, but they're a little messy. I've got a different twist on them. Buffalo chicken tenders. Let's get cooking with Styles. When it comes to seasoning your chicken tenders, most of that's going to come in the buffalo sauce, but getting them ready to cook up is your chicken tenders, a little buttermilk. I like to put them in the buttermilk for about a half hour to let the enzymes start to break down the chicken a little bit. And as far as the batter or the breading, it's salt, pepper, and flour, and you just whisk that together so you can dredge it through your chicken and buttermilk. So you take your buttermilk, chicken tenders, get most of the milk off of them, and we're just going to drop them in like this. Get most of that liquid off of there, and then we're putting them in the flour, And now we're gonna toss them around. And I've got my oil already heated up to about a medium-high temperature. Make sure you clean your fingers because this is gonna get a little messy. And we're just gonna toss it a little bit here, like that. And you can see how easy that is. A nice little coating, and in they go. And we'll do this on all of these, cook them for about 3 to 4 minutes aside till they're golden brown, and then we'll put them in the buffalo sauce. John just made me laugh. He called me Colonel because we're frying chicken here, but we're making buffalo wings. And you know, you could kind of adapt this to be like a fried chicken dish, but we're making buffalo wings, and so we've got these nice and golden brown, and we've got about another 3 to 4 minutes on this side. It's been about 3 to 4 minutes. If your chicken tenders are a little bit bigger, you gotta cook them a little bit longer. I'm gonna put them on a paper towel here to get what little bit of fat that's left on there from the cooking pan off there. And then also, while I've been doing this, I've been heating up a little bit of butter, because this is gonna be part of our sauce. And making that buffalo sauce is easy as this. You just take this melted butter, and we're just gonna put it in this big tossing bowl. We'll take some of, now this is a recipe that I got when I worked at BJ's Pizzeria. Some Frank's Red Hot, we'll put that right in there. We're just gonna mix that around together. And I'm not kidding you, this is how easy it is. It's not heart healthy, but it is definitely darn good. Some scallions, we're gonna put those right in the sauce because we're gonna toss all these tenders with that. And we get those in there. We're almost there, hang in there. I know your mouth is watering, mine is too. Got my relish tray all set up to go here. Roll those guys in there like so. I'm just gonna put them down on the plate. Now this could be for one, this could be for two. I don't know, once you have it, you probably won't want to share it. There are your buffalo chicken tenders with my Frank's buffalo sauce. I like these better because if you want to eat it with a fork and knife, you can. And sometimes using a bone or eating them off the bone's a little difficult. Of course, you've got to have your blue cheese, celery. I've got my heirloom carrots. This is a perfect dish.